Home openers this week in Alexander Field. First against Butler in the midweek game, then UIC comes to town for what should be a very nice weekend in West Lafayette. Kyle Charters with the baseball coach Greg Goff for This Week in Purdue Baseball, presented by Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex. Golf season is here. We head into those home games, Coach, after yet another great week, winning 3 of 4 last week, taking the midweek game at Indiana State, then winning 2 of 3 against Minnesota up in Minneapolis over the weekend. I'll say this for me personally, when we started the week, I thought, man, if you could go 2-2 against some really difficult opponents on the road, you'd consider that a success. You do one better than that, you win 3 out of the 4. It was a pretty good week.
It really was. It was a great week, Kyle, to be honest with you. You know, going on the road kind of for the first time as far as being a visitor and doing that thing. It's hard, especially going to a place that of Indiana State, and you know we hadn't had any luck down there lately in the last few years, and so I think going down there and you know our guys, one of the goals this year was to do well in the state, and so they knew how important it was. I thought they showed up and played extremely well, and then we go to Minnesota, and you know first weekend of conference play, you just never know. You don't feel like after just a few weeks that you're really prepared for conference at that time. Yeah. But with the 30-game schedule this year in the Big Ten, you know, we were fortunate enough to play the first weekend and go to an environment that is really different. And I don't think people really realize how difficult it is up there in a football stadium to play baseball. But our guys were resilient. I thought they did a great job. And to be able to go 3-1, have a chance to really sweep the weekend until, you know, Sunday, I thought was a great week for us.
Yeah, it's interesting when you leave the weekend a little bit disappointed even after a 3-1 because you did have an opportunity to get that game on Sunday, but Minnesota's a good squad, came back and got the victory. I thought one thing that really stood out to me was you were in a different environment, didn't get a chance to practice in U.S. Bank Stadium, which if you don't know is the home of the Minnesota Vikings. It's a huge, huge facility. Some weird dimensions there. Yep. You get out there in the game on Friday, and I thought you guys really just sort of put a lot of pressure on the Gophers in those first 3 or 4 innings.
Right.
And they seemed a little stunned by you guys running first to third, causing mistakes for them defensively. I thought that really set the tone for the weekend.
It did, and Minnesota is going to be very good. Coach McDermott is a first-year coach, had been there with Coach Anderson, the legend of the Big Ten, and you could tell he's putting his stamp on the program, and boy, they play with some toughness and aggressiveness, and so I told our guys we got to do the same thing. And somebody's going to have to something's going to break at some point, and so fortunate enough that we were able to get out to a good lead, and I just don't want to leave here today without saying how good a job Carter Dorn did, starting and being in that type of environment. They have a lot of left-hand hitters. It's a small porch in right field. For him to go out and give us the start that he did, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. And then, the combination of Dorn, Valone, Cook, it's worked for us so far these first 4 weeks.
Yeah, really tone setters on Fridays for sure. Dorn gets through 5 innings. Valone comes in the 6th, gets out of a big jam in the 6th inning. You work yourself into a little bit of trouble again in the 9th inning, and Avery Cook comes in and he's sort of that calm presence there in the late innings. But there were some nervous moments, but you guys on Friday night found a way with pitching and defense after the early lead.
There's no doubt, and all those guys that we're talking about are older, seniors. It's been here for 3 and 4 years, or Mike just transferred in, but been here, pitched for 4 years in college. So, we were very fortunate to get away with a win right there. I mean, they had their best hitters up with the bases loaded, and again, I just can't say enough about Avery Cook and how he has sustained himself as one of the best relievers in Division I baseball this year, and just his calmness and presence and confidence just gives our team confidence. And even though it was bases loaded, I never doubted that we were going to win that game.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your offense. I'm not a math wizard, though I did often walk under the math building when I was a Purdue student. You've played 16 games. You've scored 160 runs. That's 10 per game. That's pretty good. And here in March, you've been even a little bit better than that. 75 runs scored in the 7 games this month. And you're doing that without arguably your number one bat in C.J. Richmond, who's out for the next month, maybe a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
Your team really has scored some runs.
It has, and I think Coach Serrato and Coach Lovelady have did a tremendous job with our offense this year. Whenever you have new coaches coming in, you just never know how that's going go, but they've hit the ground running from what Coach Marks did last year, and have, our guys have really responded to what we're doing, and we have some good players. We were fortunate enough to get some kids out of the portal and some kids that returned, and it's just been a great combination, Kyle, to be honest with you. But, we have a chance. We've put some big runs up. The pitching's going to get tougher and tougher as we go through this year.
No
but
doubt.
at this point, we feel like we've, got off to a good start with our offense.
Yeah, if you can keep up 10 runs per game for the next 35 games,
we'll win a bunch of games. Yeah. We'll win a bunch of games.
The pitching will get a little bit better. A guy who has taken advantage of some of the other injuries and really stepped up for you is Aaron Mannias. Man, let's read his numbers here. Last week, he's player of the week. And you'll see why here in a second. 10 for 17, 7 extra base hits last week, 13 RBI, including 8 in the midweek victory down in Terre Haute against Indiana State. 21 total bases, 1.235 slugging percentage. He had the 8 RBI and then the go-ahead grand slam in the game on Saturday. Man, talk about a guy taking advantage of getting the extra reps. And, if he keeps it up, it's going to be hard to take him out of the lineup. So that's a problem for later, perhaps. But
that's a good problem.
Yeah, he was solid.
He has, and I did a lot of the recruiting with him this summer, and just really liked him. I knew he had some arm injuries and things of that nature, and just felt like he just was a mature, confident guy. I liked his swing from the left side, and so, really, really glad he decided to come to Purdue and be a part of it. And like you said, Kyle, he didn't even start the first, 5, 6, 7 games. Yeah. And when he got his opportunity, he went in there and made the most of it. And that's the great thing about having some depth with our program and just, having guys that I tell them all the time, just make sure you're ready when you're called, because you may not get another chance, with the depth that we do have. And so Aaron, just really proud of him and just staying positive and waiting for his opportunity. And when he got it, he's made the most of it.
Yeah. Easton Storey will be our player feature this week. We'll talk to him in just a couple of minutes, the sophomore left-handed pitcher. He started on Saturday. His line doesn't turn out to jump off the page at you, but he gets you into the 5th inning, which he's done consistently now this season. He's getting guys out. He's striking guys out a lot. I think 8 of them in the game. Your team is winning the games that he starts. Right. He ended last year, I think, probably a little bit disappointed because he, was struggling a little bit. Right. Maybe didn't pitch as much as he anticipated in his first year. But, man, he's made a lot of strides to be able to put himself in position to be a weekend starter.
He has, and we recruited him as being a guy and, coming in with a staff last year that was full of older guys, and he got a couple of opportunities early and didn't throw really well. It's hard. It's hardest for an 18-year-old kid to come in and pitch at this level. But, what I like about Easton was that he never buzzed on leaving. He never buzzed on doing anything else. He stayed committed. We placed him this summer with a good friend of ours down in Danville, and he went down there and really, to me, made a huge jump going down there and pitching this summer. I went down a couple of times and watched him pitch, and just really pleased with how he was developing. And then, he came in this fall and had a really good fall and just continued to develop and become the guy that he has today, which I'm really proud of.
Another guy I think we need to mention on the staff is Cole Van Assen and what he was able to do on Saturday, coming in a game that it sort of felt like it was in the balance. The lead had changed a couple of times. In some ways, I think Saturday's game felt like the rubber game a little bit, felt like the game you needed to win the series. And he came in and just was, even though he's only a sophomore, just felt like a calming presence when you really needed it. Came in and rolled through the last 3 innings to pick up the save. Man, it just you felt confident with him out on the hill.
No doubt, and that's why we kind of TBD'd it on Sunday, because we didn't know what we were going to do, and we felt like he was a good matchup with those guys. And so really glad that Coach Newman said, hey, let's go with CVA here, and made that decision for us. And it was a great decision. I think, Cole, his last outing didn't throw really well, and we kind of worked on some delivery stuff going up till that start or that performance. And so looking forward to him to continue to improve with that. And again, just how unselfish our team is. That guy could have been really upset that he wasn't starting on Sunday. But, boy, when we gave him the ball on Saturday, he knew how important it was and went out there and, like you said, just calmed everything down and just really gets a chance to win a series.
Yeah. I think one thing your team has shown through the first 16 games is an ability to win in a variety of different ways. You obviously are scoring runs, But there have been times where you've needed the defense to step forward. It did this weekend.
Yeah.
You made a couple of really good catches in the outfield by Albert Choi and Eli Anderson in particular on Friday night. Really catches that probably changed the outcome of that game. You've won with pitching at times. You've obviously won with the offense. Your team's running a little bit on the bases as well. You have to even though the offense is sort of dominating the headlines, the fact that if a game gets close, you can win it that way too, like you did on Friday.
We have, we've been able to use our short game and do some things like that. But we've had to win in multiple ways, which that's what good teams do. We talk about it all the time. We want to be able to have an offense. We don't want to just have a hit home runs and things. And we want to be able to utilize different ways that we can score, and especially when you go into a building like that where the visibility is not as good. And so we were able to do it a lot of different ways, Kyle, and I think that's really important as we build, through the year, that we can't just rely on the long ball.
Right.
We got to be able to hit the ball. We got a bit of situational hit. We got to be able to play the short game, and we got to run, and put some pressure on some guys. If we can do that, I think we're going to be okay.
The long ball's nice though too.
I like the long ball.
I mean, you guys.
I like shaking hands.
Yeah,
I like shaking their hands.
You did take advantage of the short porch in right field. I mean, you guys did that better than Minnesota did on their sort of alternate home field.
Well, I wouldn't say any of those were cut short.
I think
every one of those home runs were over 400 feet. So
Brandon Anderson hit the ball halfway up the upper deck. I mean, that was. That was not just
I don't
a
think
short
any of them
porch
were
home
cheated.
run.
I don't think any of them. Although the porch was short, it was a high dimension, and I think all of them rested over 400 feet on track, man. So they got their money's worth.
No doubt.
And I do like home runs. Don't get me wrong. But there's some days where you're not going to be able to do that, and so you better find other ways that you can score to have a chance to win.
At home this weekend, throughout the week, and then really for the month, first of 13 straight games at Alexander. The weather is supposed to be in the 60s for the midweek game. Might be the same for the weekend series against UIC. It should be a nice weekend. We'll have a lot of fans out there. UIC, when you look at them on paper, the record isn't there for the Flames, but, man, they played a really difficult schedule. Georgia, Louisville, I think it's like the fifth-ranked schedule in terms of strength, difficulty this season. So I would anticipate that they'll be ready to play this weekend, as they typically are.
We always have trouble with them, midweeks. Last year was the first time we had beat them in a midweek game in probably 3 or 4 years. Coach does, Sean does a great job up there. I had a lot of respect for him. But I'm just excited about being back at Alexander, our fan base, and I just want to, challenge our fan base. Like, let's break the record again this year. 2 years in a row, we've been able to set the attendance record for the last 2 years, and let's do it again for year 3 and build it even better and make this thing a tremendous home field advantage for us.
Sounds good. Let's go out there and get some more.
All right, boulder up.
All right, let's take a break. We'll bring in Easton Storey here in just a moment on This Week in Purdue Baseball.
Play championship golf at the Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex. Enjoy great food and great drinks at the new Pete Dye Clubhouse and shop official Purdue gear at the Purdue Pro Shop. Experience it all now at PurdueGolf.com.
Easton Storey joins us on This Week in Purdue Baseball. Easton, the goal of games is to win. Purdue has won all 4 of the games that you have started. I would imagine that's a point of pride here through the first month of the season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always good when your team gets a W when you're pitching. So,
just talk about your off season coming into this year. I would imagine that last year sort of ended on a little bit of a sour note. You probably weren't feeling quite as good as what you had hoped in your first season, but you head to Danville, you get some good reps there, you come back, and probably knowing that you have an opportunity to be a weekend starter. How did you sort of rebuild during the off season to put yourself in the position that you are now?
Yeah, the big thing was just there's 2. I guess the first thing is I'm healthy now. Last year I was dealing with a couple of issues in my back, and I was able to take care of it and do what I had to get that to go away. And also, I'm not a freshman anymore. I know what's coming, what everything looks like, how things are done, and I just didn't really had not new coaches or nothing, just doing it again. And so I knew how to do it and just took care of everything and was able to go to Danville and work on some stuff, which really helped.
You've really dealt with some injuries throughout your career, right? You had Tommy John and missed your junior season of high school. You mentioned your back bothering you a little bit last year. What was it like to miss your junior year, and how do you think that sort of affected your career?
Oh, it was super tough. I was always one of those kids that threw really hard when I was young.
Yeah.
And I don't think my body could handle it, and that was part of the reason why. I obviously had to get Tommy John surgery. But it was pretty big, especially being in the middle of the recruiting process and stuff, and then you tell them you're hurt, and then it's just silence. But I mean, it definitely sucked with everything, but I'm happy it happened, because I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have this opportunity now.
Yeah.
And who knows what would happen. So.
Yeah, it is tough when it's your junior year that you miss, because that's really the prime recruiting year, right? And I would imagine that some people after you got hurt were like, yeah. Apparently Purdue, though, was one that stuck with you through that and still gave you the opportunity. What was it about the Boilermakers that brought you here?
Well, my grandpa played football here years ago, and so that was pretty cool. So family's always, not that we were Purdue fans, but like
Had a tie.
Yeah. And just everything about it was pretty nice. Like, I love the field. It's one of the nicest fields I've played on. Great facilities and things like that, coaches, stuff like that.
Josh Newman, your pitching coach, loves left-handers.
Mm-hmm.
You are a lefty, of course. Just how has he been able to help you achieve what you've been able to achieve this year?
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, he's always laughing, always got a smile on his face, always got jokes. But I really like what we're doing right now with like how we're using my arsenal. It's a little bit different than a lot of people, but just the way we're tunneling their stuff and using different pitches and different counts, I really like that. And just the work I was able to do this fall and last year. I was here in June, just working with Casey with my back, and some of the rehab pens we were able to do were pretty successful, and they helped out big time.
Yeah. I would imagine that you feel like the next step for you as a starter is, you've worked into the fifth in most games, maybe extended a little bit farther than that in one. Just to be able to get back out there and see those guys for the third time through, is that sort of the next step, you think, in your maturation as a pitcher?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest thing, and then just staying out of the big innings.
Yeah.
Like, instead of a 2, 3, 4, maybe limit to a 1. And I think, especially with last week, I was a pitch away from just being 5 zeros instead of 4 runs. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how your line doesn't finish probably looking as good as what you think it is, but it doesn't tell really the whole story about how you pitched and gave Purdue an opportunity to win that game, which of course you guys did. The offense this season is scoring 10 runs per game. I don't know what it's been in your starts, but it feels like it's been pretty good. It's nice when you know that the offense is going to give you some good support.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I give tons of credit to those guys. Like, facing those guys in the fall when they know what your stuff is, and you're facing them for the 8th time, and they're already some of the best hitters you've faced. It's just, those guys, they get after it. They know how to hit. Yeah. So it's awesome to see them playing well.
Who on the team do you think is the most challenging for you to face?
I got 2. I got Cam Gasser and Amir Gray.
All right.
Cam likes to work pretty deep into counts, and if I strike him out, it's still 10 pitches, and if he gets a hit, it's 10 pitches. So it seems to always run up the pitch count, and Amir Gray, I don't know what it is, but it seems like every time he's getting a bloop hit off me, every at bat. So
interesting. Those are not maybe the 2 at the top. Cam's gotten off to a slow start this year, but as you said, he has a great eye and works. Counts deep for sure. And Amir's played a little bit, but maybe not the top guy you'd think about. That's interesting and a good answer. Anybody in the bullpen out there that you feel like has really stepped up this season, and so when you come out, you're excited about seeing them out there?
Yeah, I just want to give credit to Gavin Buter. Obviously, this week as a whole didn't go as he wanted it to, but he's been nails all year.
Yeah.
He's came in after every start I've had and saved me almost every time. So definitely want to give a shout out to Buter.
Yeah, Josh Newman likes those combinations. We see Dorn and Valone on Friday nights. We've seen you and Buter go 1-2 on Saturdays. It's a nice, righty-lefty, lefty-righty combination. Do you feel like he gives batters a little bit different look after you've started through the first couple of times through?
Yeah, 100%. To go with, I guess, higher velocity and more curve fastball with me from the left side, and then to go little sink and slider off him.
Yeah.
I think it plays really well, and it's able to mess with the hitter's eyes and stuff, just
Right.
the way the ball's moving. And same goes with Dorn and Valone. It's very, very different pitchers. But yeah, I think the matchups we've been doing have been working pretty well.
Yeah. All right, let's hit your personal preferences. As Ben Turner likes to say, there are no wrong answers, but you'll give me 3 numbers here, and we'll find out a little bit more about you. We know perhaps that you're a Yankees fan. We figured that out from the sweatshirt. All right, give me a number here. What do we got?
Just any number.
Any number between 1 and let's do 1 and 23. It looks like.
I'll go 22.
All right, most memorable game moment, sports memory at Purdue. What's your most memorable?
At Purdue?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be baseball, I don't think. Just any memory, sports memory. Though it could be your own, or maybe give me a couple.
Beating Indiana Friday night last year was pretty cool. I
Yeah.
would say that.
Okay, it's a good one. All right, give me another number. 1 through 23, except for 22.
19.
19. Foreign country you'd most like to visit.
Probably the Dominican Republic.
All right.
Yeah.
Any reason why in particular?
It's warm.
Just warm, yeah.
Beach. Yeah, what else can you ask for?
Again, no wrong answers. That's a perfectly good reason, in my opinion, to go somewhere where it's warm. Although it's supposed to be pretty, not like 95, but warmer this week.
Yeah.
As we get back here at home. All right, 1 through 23, don't pick 22 or 19.
13.
13. Pick 1, breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
Dinner.
Anything in particular for dinner that you're having?
I would go with steak.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go. Traditionalist. That sounds good to me. All right. So midweek game this week, we'll open up at Alexander, and then the weekend series against UIC, first of 13 in a row back here in West Lafayette. You guys have been on the road for a long time. What are you looking forward to about being back at home?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it for sure. Traveling's always fun the first 2 weeks, and you kind of get sick of it. Just
Yeah.
ready to stay home, stop getting home at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it'll be nice to be back at Alexander and play at our home turf. So
Yeah. Sounds good. Appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, that'll do it for the podcast for this week. We do appreciate you tuning in. Back again, of course, next week. We'll talk to Coach Greg Goff and get ready for the resumption of the Big Ten. All right, that'll do it for this week. For Easton Storey, Greg Goff, along with producer Corey Palm, I'm Kyle Charters. Thanks for watching.